So in this example, we're going to graph this function as well, but it's a cubed root function. Okay, so first we want to find the domain. The domain, part A, domain is going to be all real numbers because it's a cubed root. So we can have from negative infinity to infinity. Any real number you can think of, we can evaluate the function at it. So part B, now we want to graph the function. So again, I'm going to make a table of values, and then I'm going to think of nice numbers that I could take the cubed root of. So you could pull out your chart of perfect cubes, and there aren't a whole lot of them that I can take the cubed root of that will fit on my graph paper here. But I can take the cubed root of negative 8. So I'm saying f of negative 8 would equal the opposite of the cubed root of negative 8. Now that's going to be the opposite of negative 2. The cubed root of negative 8 is negative 2. And the opposite of negative 2 is going to be 2. What else can I take the cubed root of? Negative 1. So I can take f of negative 1, which is going to equal the opposite of the cubed root of negative 1. Or the opposite of negative 1, because the cubed root of negative 1 is negative 1. So I get a 1 here. I can take the cubed root of 0. So f of 0 is just going to be the opposite of the cubed root of 0. That's just going to be 0. There's no opposite of 0. It's still 0. All right, now I could put in positive 1. So what's the opposite of the cubed root of 1? Well, that's going to be negative 1. Now, what did I put in? 1, and I got out negative 1. And then I could put in 8. So what's the opposite of the cubed root of 8? Well, the cubed root of 8 is 2, so it's going to be the opposite of 2, or negative 2. And I put in an 8. Okay, so there's my table of values. I'm picking some nice points that I can take the cubed root of. You can pick other numbers. You just have to get a calculator and approximate them. And then it's a little trickier to graph them because you have to kind of guess where it is. But that works. Okay, so now let's plot these points and see what happens. It says negative 8, 2. Well, that point is right there. Negative 1, 1. 0, 0, that's the origin. Then I have 1, negative 1. And finally I have 8, negative 2. So it makes kind of this snake, kind of like that. Kind of missed some of the points there. Okay, kind of like that. So that's what the graph looks like. And then what can you say about the range? Well, those arrows continue in both directions. And even though it looks like it's kind of flattening out, technically it's still going up. Well, in this case, going down ever so slightly, but it's going down. And over on this part, it's going up ever so slightly. And so the actual domain from the bottom to the top is all real numbers because it keeps going. I mean, you have to get really big numbers, but it's, or really small numbers, but it's going to keep going in that kind of slightly, it's getting bigger going this way and getting smaller going this way. Kind of hard to see. But the range, part C, the range is going to be from negative infinity to infinity. Remember, when we have interval notation, we always list it from smallest to largest.